Is it weird though, because do you feel like the kids coming up, especially in a setup like Arsenal, you're like, you don't even know, man. I got my shirt in a bin bag. You guys, you kids are so spoiled.
We're getting old now. Like, they're the conversation we're having. Like, you don't know what you could have had. And it's like, shut up, Jordan.
Hello guys and welcome to That's the Tea. I'm Nicole Holliday and I'm here with Dulwich Hamlet footballer and DJ Monki, Arsenal and England's Jordan Nobbs, and journalist and broadcaster Flo Lloyd-Hughes. Hello. How are we all?
Good, thanks.
Good, fantastic. Now this is going to be an action-packed show. We have so much to talk about, including Women's Football Weekend and of course the international break, where we saw over 77,000 people at Wembley Stadium supporting the Lionesses. And of course we'll be talking about all the big stories from the world of football. But we're going to start with you, madam. 11-0 on the weekend.
Yeah.
What?
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, guys. Awful claps behind there. Amazing. Massive scoreline.
It was a big scoreline, but I think the team that we played are going through a bit of a hard time, so... Actually, yeah, it's just like, yeah, I know, yeah.
And you scored an absolute screamer. Let's check it out.
I looked up and I was like, I've got a long way to run here, so, and I was feeling pretty tired, to be honest. So I was like, I'm gonna go for the chip. I just got off a flight.
What was the score by that point that you scored that?
Mate, it was like 8-0.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did you celebrate? No.
I didn't celebrate. I was thinking I was
respectful.
Yeah, a knee slide.
Yeah, you should have done that.
Nah, I'm just not that kind
You're
of
a
person.
classy gal. But that would have been great content for the show.
I know, yeah. I was thinking, it's like, shit, Copper are gonna be disappointed.
Right, let's do a quick FAWSL roundup. Busy weekend. Spurs 0, Arsenal 2. We're here at North London Derby, obviously, at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I was there, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Manchester City 5, West Ham 0. Lucky we don't have Julia Simic on the show today. Brighton 3, Birmingham 0 at the Amex. Chelsea 1, Manchester United 0. Reading 3, Bristol 3 at the Medeski Stadium. And Liverpool 0, Everton 1 at Anfield. So 4 games there played in the big main stadiums, which in itself is incredible. It was a great weekend, wasn't it?
What was that?
Yeah, casual play. Okay, we're going to talk about the North London Derby. 2-0. I was at the game. Had to sit in the Spurs section. Don't hate me, Arsenal fans. I know.
Why?
But I was saying to Jordan earlier, I guess I made the mistake. I didn't book my tickets early enough. And they sold out. The Arsenal away section sold out quickly.
At first we were thinking, why have they segregated it? But once they did, like, it was the best.
I think it creates a much better atmosphere.
Yeah, no, it was.
And it's one of the few times I've seen in women's football like a proper segregation. Although I know in some ways it shouldn't be necessary, and obviously it came into men's football for other reasons.
Yeah.
But it does help build atmosphere if you're all in one place. Instead of security reasons, more for like atmosphere reasons.
Yeah, no, but I think it was good because actually, I was saying to Jordan before, like, there were a lot of boos at points from Spurs fans, but I liked it.
We said that to Kim when she scored. Kim scored and then ran away from our fans, and we were like, what are you doing?
Come back!
Yeah, she was like, I just went for it. So yeah.
That was such a good goal as well from Kim.
Yeah, I mean, she's one of the best players in the world by far, so I think she needs a bit more recognition sometimes than what she probably gets.
We will recognise her right now.
Yeah.
Kim Little,
Sure, that
you're
goal.
great. You're fantastic.
I watched the highlights. I don't know who it was because I couldn't see their head. They'd like cut off their head in the highlights. But whichever player ran over to celebrate her picked Kim Little up just with one arm.
Yeah, Kate,
I mean, she's quite small.
Yeah, she talks about her biceps all the time, actually. So I don't know if that was just a part that she wanted to. I need to do this.
Look at this.
Like, so yeah,
A lot of people were saying in the build-up to that game, you know, there hasn't been a lot of fixtures between Arsenal women and Spurs women yet. So it's important that there is some atmosphere created when you haven't got the backstory that the men's North London Derby has, which has created so much bitterness already. It's like you need to sort of fast track that into the game, and that does help if you create a bit of hostility in the right way.
Absolutely, and it makes it quite a scary place to then play, I'm guessing, when they're booing you.
I think we need obviously need to keep getting used to playing in front of bigger crowds, but I think when it's games like that, it is good that actually we do have a 10-minute spell where the crowd are, you know, changing the way we play or the way we feel, and you can feel it. It's probably one of the best games I've played in terms of feeling like real fans were there for a London derby and booing. Like, it's great for us too.
Were you more nervous for that game than other games, do you think?
It's a big occasion, big stadium as well.
I don't think you're ever. I'm not a nervous player, but I think no matter what we say, we're still not used to playing in front of more than 5,000 fans. So I think it is just. We just need more cohesion and things where we're playing in front of crowds
and bigger,
like that.
Bigger pitch as well,
bigger
right?
pitch.
Yeah.
Just the feeling of being there. So it's good for us to experience that.
And we were talking about the rivalry. Do you feel like then it is the same in the women's game, like that Arsenal-Spurs North London derby rivalry?
Up until that game, probably not. But now, 100%. I think it showed 38,000. I think there's a reason why people wanted to come watch that game. And
was there any spiciness in the tunnel? Like,
no, not yet.
That's what I want to
Not
see.
yet.
The first
I know, but that's what I love. I love the kind of little snippets that you only see if you're in the tunnel, or the players, try and psych each other out. Because that's what makes
There's no
derby
King
so
Vieira
special.
situation
No,
going on.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
what I want. I want some pizza.
Not
flying.
yet. I think when Kim scored though, like there's pictures of me like high in the air, like we celebrated, like we were jeering the crowd, things like that. I think
And then pictures
we
of
wanted
Leah
to
where
make the
she's
most
going
of the
mad
moment.
as
Yeah,
well.
no,
Yeah.
exactly. We
Leah
wanted
got
to
a
be
little bit feisty at one point, though. I did see. That
Yeah,
was
a feisty player on the pitch, but I mean, it's a London derby.
Yeah.
We want that feeling. We want to celebrate in front of 38,000 Tottenham fans. So
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. What I did wonder, though, is rivalry-wise, do you think it's the same? Because obviously Chelsea and City are technically your biggest rivals in the sense of silverware. So how does Tottenham compare? Do you know what I mean? Is it kind of more because it's just that North London rivalry?
I still think Chelsea and Man City are the big teams
Yeah.
that are our rivalry, but I think this league has showed over the last few years you can't go into any game not thinking we could draw here or lose points or anything like that. So I think Tottenham, probably when we played them in pre-season, I think they've improved massively and showed that against us the other day. So I think the gap between everyone is now changing.
Yeah, now we need to talk about attendances, because this weekend, I mean, it was fantastic, the attendances. 38,000 at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, when you really kind of felt that atmosphere. Do you know what I
think
mean?
that's what's so great about the weekend is obviously it's great for kids and families to go, but obviously if you have young children, you can't really come back every week because your routine's a bit chaotic, or you might be, your kids might be playing football on Saturdays or Sundays and the fixtures get moved or whatever. So I think to have kind of young millennials there who might be able to build a bit more of a consistent, loyal kind of fan relationship with women's football is much more exciting. And also they're the ones who kind of have spending power as well.
Yeah.
So although I think it's great to expose young girls and young boys to women's football early on, it's for the return sort of customer, if you like, to put it bluntly, it's great that we have kind of young people in their sort of 30s who are maybe coming to women's football for the first time and are then going to become mad fans about it.
Yeah, I bumped into quite a lot of Arsenal fans actually, and men, and they were like, this is like our first game, our first women's game. And they were like, it was great. I think playing in these bigger stadiums and getting the attendances up is so crucial. But how do we translate that into the smaller stadiums? Because that's what's kind of a key issue. That's what we need, right?
Yeah, I think accessibility is such a big factor in women's football because a lot of the grounds aren't that accessible. I mean, I mainly work at the Chelsea women games, and Kings Meadow is about 15 minutes walk from an overground station. So most people have to drive, so if you can't drive, it makes things a little bit difficult, and lots of people who live in London don't drive anyway. And obviously like Boreham Wood, similar sort of situation. So obviously putting the games in these stadiums, which are far easier to access, and, have like proper public transport going to them, is great. And then it's like, right, well, how can we fit the women's games into that equation? How can they play closer to kind of the cities they're based? Reading play in Wickham, for example. So it's really hard to find out how you fit that in to kind of the wider kind of women's football world, I guess.
I think we were speaking earlier about like people will recognise us as players or that we won the league last year but literally never know where we play. Like one of the first questions is, where do you play at? So I think that's something we need to change, whether that's marketing or probably marketing, I guess, to make sure that people actually know where we're based at, because that's also it's not great that people don't know where we're playing, so it's something we need to improve on.
And I think like the viewing figures in the summer showed that there is a huge appetite for women's football.
Of course.
And now it's about moving those people from the sofas to the stands, but that is quite a hard transition.
Yeah.
And this weekend proved that they will do it, but it's like you've got to take them on the journey.
But are you noticing a difference in kind of people recognising you since the World Cup and stuff as well?
Yeah, I think it's like changed massively with that. I mean, to be fair, I've obviously always joked, like I've been noticed a lot more from doing the punditry recently over the World Cup, but obviously you're in front of 11 million people, so it is a different media world. But I think as footballers now, we are, you know, starting to become role models and people that are seen on telly. I think we're just going through different eras. First we were talking about just trying to get people involved, and now we're talking about, you know, the type of money we're getting or the big stadiums we're playing in. So I think it's just doing things at the right time for the women's game, and you know, we need to make sure we're performing on the pitch as well, because we are getting seen now as role models and footballers.
Yeah, it must be quite mad for you then to see the difference in like the past few years with the women's game and attendances and media interest and just everything. I mean, it feels like it's growing really quickly.
I've loved it. I mean, obviously because I've been at Arsenal 9 years, I've seen a crazy turnaround in when I was 17. I mean, when I first signed for Arsenal, I got a plane down and I actually signed with Steph Houghton, so me and her signed together. We came down on the plane, met at a Holiday Inn. We met Laura Harvey at a Holiday Inn, and we got given 2 black bin bags, literally 2 black bin bags full of kit. And like I opened mine, she opened hers, and I pulled out number 8 and she pulled out number 2. But obviously, like looking back then, it was one of the greatest highlights of my career, pulling out number 8 shirt at Arsenal, with the players that were there, same as Steph. Like we obviously, but then like now looking back, you're like, wow, I received my shirt like in a bin bag in the Holiday Inn, like with halves just like stood next to me, like, you know, buzzing to give us them numbers. And now it's like, God, it would be like,
I think they should still do
it would
that.
just be yeah, it would just be terrible if it would be unheard of now that happened in the game. So
Is it weird though, because do you feel like the kids coming up, especially in a setup like Arsenal, you're like, you don't even know, man. I got my shirt in a bin bag. You guys, you kids are so spoiled.
We're getting old now. Like they're the conversation we're having. Like, you don't know what you could have had, and it's like, shut up, Jordan. But yeah, no, I mean, but that's what we were here to do. We were the same as the generation of Kelly Smith and Rachel Yankee. Like they put us in a better limelight, and now we're hopefully doing that for the next generation. But I think it's just making sure the kids appreciate and deserve, you know, but we don't want the women's game to fall. We need to keep pushing, and they're going to be the next generation to push again and keep the high standards of like entertainment, because that's what football is.
Yeah, and we want to see it growing continuously. Now, we spoke to the FA Women's Professional Game Director, Kelly Simmons, about the growth of the women's game in this country.
I think if you look at women's sport, the big pinnacle events, World Cups, Olympics, high profile, big audiences, and then the challenge for women's sport is then to draw that through into regular weekly coverage of the domestic game. And at the Women's Super League, you know, we've seen, you know, we're working really hard on making sure that we take that massive high profile Women's World Cup and the success and profile of the Lionesses and drive that through into growing attendances, growing audiences in the Women's Super League. You know, we're on that journey, so you know, we've seen record crowds, we've seen a massive uplift in terms of average attendances in the Women's Super League, but you know, there's work to do to keep building attendances, build the audience, and ultimately make the women's game, professional women's game, sustainable in this country.
Yeah.
It's all well and good getting behind everything and doing initiatives like Women's Football Weekend and stuff, but that needs to happen consistently, right, to keep it growing.
I think more sponsors have now come in, like it is more advertised commercially and things like that, which I think has slowly grown the game where it's not taken such a dip after a major tournament.
An agent told me as well that sort of recently when players are getting sponsored by brands and stuff, like they're tending to sign a lot longer contracts instead of like short-term ones, which kind of like shows that
There's more money.
And then they're more willing to put that money towards the women's game for like a longer period of time as well, which I think is only a is a good thing. You know?
Yeah. You can catch the whole interview with Kelly, as well as loads of others, on our Facebook watch series, The Other Half. 4,790 people at Kings Meadow, which, you know, could be argued. I've seen a lot on Twitter that people are saying that that is kind of the key attendance that we should really look at, because obviously that's at their usual stadium, right? The place they usually play, rather than the big sort of fancier stadium. So how important is that number for us?
What's the capacity at Kings Meadow, do you know?
It was pretty much capacity. And what I think Chelsea are so impressive with the way, you know, regardless of Women's Football Weekend, regardless of who they're playing, they do get good crowds in all the time. Yeah. They've really built a fan base at Kings Meadow. Obviously, as well as, you know, Arsenal and some of the big clubs, often there is a fixture clash with the men's team playing on a Sunday on TV, and sometimes that does affect. But I mean, Arsenal game, they got, I think, 2,500, nearly 3,000 people in there. So they've done so well consistently, and I think because they haven't really put a lot of games in the men's team, or they had that game in Stamford Bridge, but they've sort of quietly been churning out really good attendances. So it was great to see them kind of get some recognition for that.
Why do you think that they're the leading team in terms of attendance?
Good question, Monki.
I think they're in a really good area in terms of kind of families. If you look at the family, I mean, they're in kind of Surrey, quite an affluent area. They also have a really loyal women's supporters group who only follow kind of the women's team only. They've got a great team at the moment. They're top of the league. Although they don't have Champions League football, you know, they've got some exciting players. They've got Fran Kirby, who's, you know, obviously really popular on her own. So I think they just bring people in, and then they play teams who have good away fans. So Man United had, I think, probably maybe 500 people there on Sunday, and obviously the Arsenal game, a lot of Arsenal fans travel for that. So I think they've just done it in a good way, and I think other clubs could learn a lot from that. And when AFC Wimbledon move out into Plough Lane, Chelsea will have that stadium to themselves, and they'll really be able to push on. I mean, the pitch is brilliant. They've now got a video screen, which in women's football is like, what? A video screen? So I think...
Which is a lot, I mean, it's like bin bag.
We all need that.
It's a bit like...
it's wicked. I couldn't believe it when I saw it, because they hadn't had a functioning scoreboard for about 2 years, and now they've got a video screen. They've gone from like bin bags to 4K.
Whoa, we're moving up in the world.
So yeah, it's brilliant. So I think, you know, Chelsea are really going to push on, and obviously with the arrival of Sam Kerr, it's really going to kick off.
We're going to talk about her a bit later on. Anyway, let's talk about the Lionesses. At Wembley Stadium, who was there? Obviously, you were there. Great crowd, great attendance. What was it like for you?
It's unbelievable. Like, you just want to keep making history, don't you? And whenever you're part of that, you're like, wow, like that's another one in the memory book where I'm like, I was actually like playing on the pitch. So it was pretty incredible. And I think I was the same. Like in the one, I was thinking, oh my God, there looks like there's going to be, this sounds terrible, like maybe 40,000 here or something like that, because it just looked. And then all of a sudden it was like you're walking out and it's just full. So,
did you play in that 2014 game?
Yep, unfortunately.
How does it compare? Obviously, it's about twice as many people.
Big attendance.
Yeah, because even like then it was like that was an incredible achievement. But I think now that we've like nearly doubled that in the however many years, you know, it shows how the game is changing, that we've increased by that many people. So it's exciting.
How important, like, how did it feel for all of you guys as a team? Did you sort of talk about it after, like how big of an event it was, and that attendance?
I mean, we're sore losers, so we were more thinking we lost, but I think we know how much we're playing a key role in changing the game, and playing in that was just, it is what everyone wants. Everyone wanted to play in that game and be a part of it or be selected. So, it was still a good moment, even though the scoreline.
So, what was the dressing room like after? Were you because I know what you mean, because obviously, and it was annoying because we lost right at the end, 2-1. But surely the occasion itself. I mean, I know people say that and they're a bit like, oh, but. I mean, it was an amazing occasion to be a part of.
Yeah, it was nice hearing all the family and friends say that when they walked down Wembley Way, like the atmosphere was unbelievable. They said it's like one of the best feelings they've had walking into a women's game, just seeing thousands of fans walk down there, like it was just normal. So I think that was stuff like that. You'd also like to be a fan on the other side and just see what it's like to do that for a women's game.
Yeah. And the way they'd sort of dressed Wembley Way as well.
It was
with the
so
pictures
nice.
of you guys, that was cool.
Do we think that all of the Lionesses games should be played at Wembley when they're here?
I don't think so.
No? Ooh.
What's your opinion?
Why not?
I think for people around the UK, it would be nice for them to hit other big stadiums, Old Trafford, like really historic stadiums, Anfield.
I think it's the same with the men's as well. I mean, in the summer, England men went on a little bit of a mini tour too, and I think it's cool for England women to do that as well. Obviously, England women are used to doing that because they always kind of go around the country and play games. But I think to have everything focused in London, I think when so much as well of the heart of the England team is, you know, in the north of England, it's great to kind of give them that exposure, because otherwise they feel a bit left out, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think, like, obviously we've got 25,000 at Middlesbrough, like the week before. I still think the game's growing, not at that level yet where we'd constantly sell out Wembley. So can we still hit other areas of the country and keep promoting our game and pushing our game before that happens? But I think as much as we can get a game at Wembley, you know, I think it showed the other day that we should have it.
Since coming back from the World Cup, it's been quite a tough few fixtures. I mean, obviously England beat Czech Republic in that game, but how are you guys looking into the new year and looking forward?
You know, obviously I missed a big part of last year, so I've only been to 2 trips. But I think it's just about us regrouping now, everyone taking a bit of headspace over Christmas, and we need to come back and improve. Like, I think we all know that the standard hasn't been good enough, and we need to be at a better level if we want to start competing with the best in the world, if we're being honest.
Right, Jordan, we have some questions from Twitter for you. Are you ready?
I am.
I don't know why I'm doing it like that. It's like really.
I'm worried about these questions.
Yeah, you're really. What are they going to
Building
be?
it up.
Right. So Raymond Daly says, with the additions of players like Jill Roord, how much harder is the competition for playing time in the Arsenal midfield? Ooh, good question.
Yeah, it's tough now, but I think also Joe showed changing our lineup at times when he's needed to either rest players or get a bit more fitness in them. So it is getting tough, but we've got Champions League football now, so 3 games in a week. The addition of Jill Roord is obviously perfect for us. Yes, you want that shirt all the time, but it's football, isn't it? You've got to work hard for your spot.
Ooh, good on. Right, Connie says, what's it like to play against your England teammates in the WSL? Is there any rivalry?
A little bit. I mean, we used to say it was Arsenal v Chelsea. We used to then sometimes get a car straight to England camp in the same car, and we ended up getting to camp and being like, we can't do that anymore, because it just felt like
really awkward.
it was. So we want to win. So yeah, we don't care that we all play for England. I think we respect each other, but no fights yet.
Yet.
Okay.
Come back in a few weeks' time. Right, Mark Hope says, does Jordan feel she's back to her best after her long injury, or still a little way to go yet?
I think still a little way to go. Like, I'm not allowed, obviously we've had 3 games in a week and I've not been able to do that yet. So I think when you're out for 10 months, you don't realise the impact it's took on everything. So I don't think I'm quite there yet. And I think the way I left off last season, I was quite high. So still a little bit to go, but that's the process of an ACL, unfortunately.
And last one from Becky Collins, who says, if you could have any player play at Arsenal with you, who would it be?
Ooh.
Me.
After that, Chip.
No.
I'm going to think of someone else.
If I could be your girl, more
throw some names at me. I'm trying to
alright,
think of some
I'm alright.
people. Marzan.
Okay.
Yeah. She's a top player, so I'd like to play with her in the middle, yeah.
Right, let's talk about what's going on off the pitch. So this is a news story that, Jordan, you're probably quite familiar with. It is rumoured, but I feel like it's pretty much confirmed, that Dawn Scott is going to join the Lionesses as the new head of sports science and fitness, and obviously should be coming in from the United States national women's team. Now, how big is that for the Lionesses? Jordan, I love that you just looked at Flo to answer that.
It's back to me, is it? If that was the case, I think obviously, like, I grew up with her at England Youth, and she's obviously shown in America how amazing she's been. I mean, America have been one of the fittest teams around, so I think that would be a fantastic asset to us, and I hope it's true.
Some of the Twitter's been a little bit salty already.
Has it? Ooh.
Not from the players, but just from fans
Yeah.
saying like, I hope this isn't true, like how could they let her go and all this kind of stuff, because they do really see her as kind of a key aspect of their success, and obviously because they've got a new head coach with Jill Ellis leaving, that is it's quite a lot of changes, and that can be quite hard. But I mean, they've had all their success. Let someone else win for once.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Football's so transient as well. Like,
Yeah.
And plus, it's not like she's coming home. So
Well, exactly.
There must be other good fitness coaches.
I was waiting for that. I was like, any minute now.
Any excuse to sing. Right, let's talk quickly about Spanish players going on strike. So we've probably all seen that. They
Little Spanish flamenco
I
vibe
know,
going on
right?
today.
I couldn't think of any other Spanish players. I felt a lot of pressure.
You look like a living emoji right now.
Yes. What is that one? I can't
Yeah,
remember. Spanish GCSE coming to full use. They've actually now stopped the strike, so assuming that conversations are happening. So they want minimum working conditions and wages and measures for maternity, which sounds very fair,
Yeah.
right?
And it's something
Yeah.
that you have, like in your central contracts, there's a little bit of maternity and things like that.
Yeah,
right?
I think when I first got into the squad, that was all changed, and obviously I think that's very fair to ask for.
Right, and it seems mental that in 2019 that's something that is still an issue, isn't it? But good on them for striking.
Yeah,
100%,
definitely,
100%.
definitely. And I think in other sports, similar, well, the Australian women's cricket team did a similar thing a couple of years ago when they didn't have any maternity rights, and they basically said, bog off and give us our rights, and they did.
There's
So there you
plenty
go.
of sports and women athletes that don't have any maternity rights at
Yeah.
all. So it's not like an unknown thing, but yeah, good on them for striking. If that's what they have to do, it's kind
I
of
know,
crazy.
it's
like,
depressing, but
yeah.
and hopefully, there will be I think a part of it as well is because it's not a fully professional league, like we obviously are lucky to have in the UK. A lot of their players are part-time, so they want minimum guarantees for that part-time work, because it obviously, it's really hard to balance that and still play at the highest level.
Speaking of Australia though, Matildas with equal pay. So they've struck a historic deal, which will see them earn equal pay and entitlements on many key measures, which is huge. So the top male and female players will be on the same pay scale. Under the deal, both sides will receive the same cut of commercial revenue, such as advertising, and players will be valued equally. Top female players will also see a significant boost to their salaries. So that is massive. I think the one that's really interesting is advertising, and that they're going to receive the same cut, because that's something that I think is probably not done in a lot of places, right, within football.
Yeah, I think Australia, the Matildas are the biggest football brand over there. Football isn't a national sport. Cricket, Aussie rules, netball is much bigger over there. So they have the ability to do that, because the Matildas is what brings in, Sam Kerr is what brings in the money and brings in the crowds, and, people buy the shirts. They obviously used to have quite a lot of big men's players, Cahill, Kuehl, Mark Viduka, legends of the Premier League. But now, they don't really have those big names in the men's team. So the Matildas are really kind of flying the flag for football in that country, and it's a really big growing sport for girls.
We caught up with former Matildas striker and deputy CEO of the PFA, Kate Gill, who played a key role in brokering the deal.
It's probably the back end of my career that I realised that things were going to come to an end soon, but I wanted to stay invested in the game, and I was approached to join the PFA executive. I'd always been a member. I wouldn't say I was the most active of members, and it was just gaining that understanding and working close with your peers to realise where the game's at and how you wanted to advance that. I know there's been parity achieved through other nations, Finland for example, New Zealand for example, but this one is true in reflective that it's a partnership between both the Socceroos and the Matildas and the game essentially. And that's where it was founded. So to be able to adjust the framework accordingly so that the players could share in both the revenues they generate, the commercial streams that they generate, and then there was this notion from the players that they wanted to give back. So there's a portion of that that allows them to then invest in youth development. For the framework itself, we really much just kind of stripped back and we looked at how can we make this work, and it was to change it to a partnership, and that partnership's reflected through a revenue generated sharing model. And essentially it means that the money that the FFA makes through the players in using their commercial assets is then pooled, and a percentage of that is given directly back to the players. And then the players within their circumstance can cut that up accordingly. So for the Socceroos, who are accustomed to having match payments and then a commercial pool that's available to them, and for the Matildas, it's standardised contracts. But both remuneration pools are equal. The girls received quite a lot of emails from US players asking how this worked and what the architecture was that sat behind the deal. So we're all for sharing. That's what you want. You want these deals to snowball and make it possible for other nations to achieve this kind of advancement. But I think in saying that, there still needs to be a fairness from males to actually stand behind female players and recognise what they do and support them. And without having the Socceroos standing next to the Matildas, this wouldn't have happened.
Brilliant work there from Kate. She should be very proud of herself. Shout out, Kate. Right, speaking of the Matildas, Sam Kerr's long-awaited move to the WSL has come. She's going to Chelsea. She's starting in January. How big is this?
I'm just really interested to see how she does. Because
I'm excited.
I don't know, like playing in the States and playing here I think it's just going to be really different.
Do you think it's going to be maybe not a reality
You know what, the
check,
pressure
but
is on her so much
Yeah.
because there's so much hype. So, and I feel...
I'm worried about her getting injured.
Why?
Just because
I mean, everyone
I
worries
know,
about
I don't know why. I don't know why, but obviously refereeing has been a big kind of conversation for a very long time, especially in the last week. And I'm just really worried about some like flying studs up challenges that I don't necessarily. I mean, people get injured in the US and people get injured in Australia, but you know, it's kind of. I don't know. I'm just worried about like rough and tumble WSL. Smashy.
She's going to be a target.
I'm worried about Millie Bright, although they're on the same team in training, just being like, bang, sit down, and then I don't know if she'll bounce back up again, but we'll see.
But it is huge. I mean, what is it like? Because she's a massive, incredible player, Sam Kerr. What's it like having her come to the WSL?
Her stats show for herself what she's done as a player, and she's obviously one of the best strikers in the world. So the fact that she's coming to the WSL, I think it's just incredible. Like, I think the fact that we're bringing in these top players shows where our league's going. Hopefully she doesn't score any goals against us.
Ooh, I think it's really exciting, and Emma Hayes now has a headache. She's got so many good attacking players.
Emma is buzzing.
Fran Kirby's like fighting her way for fitness. When I did the post-match with Emma on the weekend, I said, you know, what's it going to be like trying to fit Sam Kerr in this team? And she said, well, that's her problem, not mine. So I like it. I mean, Emma Hayes is like, that's her character, you know, and she wants people to work hard and prove themselves. And just because someone's a big name and, you know, they spent a lot of money on her doesn't mean that they're guaranteed a place. But I mean, she's got to play if they're giving her the money that they are rumoured to be giving her.
But it'd be weird if she
it would be
didn't play.
But I mean, it's going to be amazing. And for all those Chelsea fans who've been coming week in, week out, they feel like, you know, they're now part of this journey. And I imagine, you know, the attendances will go up once she arrives.
Well, this is the thing, because Chelsea are already very good. They're top of the league at the moment. So then to have Sam Kerr coming in as well, are you frightened?
No.
Bring it on. How are you feeling, though, about the WSL? How do you think it's going to pan out this season? Because it's really tight at the top at the moment.
Yeah, it is really tight. I mean, obviously, we've lost to Chelsea, but then Chelsea dropped points to... Did they draw to Brighton or someone?
Yeah, they did. No, Brighton. Yeah, it was
Brighton,
I think.
So I think... Yeah, like I said, I think the turnaround can change very, very quickly. So I think it's very early to say, but... every team is always close, I think, around the top 4 with points.
Right, guys, that is all we have time for, I'm afraid. I know. I could sit here all day, have a little chat. No, not Flo. Flo's done. Let everyone know at home how they can follow you on Twitter, Instagram, social media.
I'm Monki DJ on Instagram, Monki, and then Monki_DJ on Twitter.
I'm Jordan Nobbs on Instagram and Jordan Nobbs 8 on Twitter.
I am Floyd Tweet on Twitter and Floyd Insta on Instagram, very on brand.
Hey. Also, where can people read some of your work, see your stuff? Plug yourself, gal.
BBC Radio London on Saturdays, on match days, mainly cover QPR, but also do Chelsea, Arsenal, all London clubs. QPR podcast, offside rule stuff, season, too much.
Wow,
I'm very tired a lot of the time. BBC Women's Football Show,
Okay, so you're doing everything, basically everywhere. You can follow Flo everywhere. Yeah, that is it from us. We will see you back here after the next round of FAWSL fixtures. Remember, you can get in touch, tweet us at Copper90. You can join the Facebook group Football is Football and leave your comments because we always want to feature them in the show. But for now, that's the tea. Woo! Again!